Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidveshavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. We are studying Swamiji's Karma Yoga. We are currently in the 6th chapter. Non-attachment is complete self-abnegation. This is the 15th class in the series. Just to recap the present chapter, so far in this chapter Swamiji has given some 4-5 main ideas. First idea is that human minds act and react on each other. Just as every action that emanates from us comes back to us as a reaction, even so our actions may act on other people and theirs on us. And the effect of this is the influence on the good and bad or evil tendencies in the people. So Swamiji says, the good and bad or the evil tendency becomes intensified because of this principle. So we run therefore a twofold danger in doing evil. First, we open ourselves to all the evil influences surrounding us. Secondly, we create evil which affects others, maybe thousands of years hence. So, similarly, the good tendency also becomes intensified because of this principle. So that is a warning to be cautious about our evil deeds or evil thoughts. So the next important idea Swamiji gave is that these actions of ours, both good and evil, are intimately connected with each other. We cannot put a line of demarcation and say an action is entirely good or entirely bad or evil. There is no action which doesn't bear good and evil fruits at the same time. So, an action that the result, whether an action is good or evil is a relative term. It depends on the agent, the person who is doing, and then what the expectation is. The given action might have done good to the person, the doer, but it might have done some harm to other people, or at least some living creatures. It may be microbes also. So that is one thing. So based on these ideas, Swamiji goes on elaborating and then connecting to the main idea about the work and the philosophy of work and how it should be undertaken. What should be the intention or the attitude behind. So now, when it is said that in the action cannot be bereft of evil effect, so when then action itself cannot be the solution to reach the perfection. So Swami says, taking this line, that being the case, it naturally follows that perfection can never be attained by merely work. So then what is the way out? So, so Swamiji explains and elaborates on this further, and then so basically we'll see that it is not the work itself, but the intention or the attitude behind the work that matters. So now, so next, so taking that line, Swamiji comes to the next idea, that is, in between, so we have this, the idea of pravrutti and nivrutti. Swamiji introduces here. So pravrutti being taking things around for oneself, that is so the meaning of the term Swamiji gives is revolving towards the pravrutti, that is taking the things, that is the basically self-centered tendency of the person, that is taking everything for oneself even at the cost of others. When the person matures through experience, through the life and through all the works, and then learns, and then when the person matures, then he understands the importance of life and the importance of justice, all these things are that sense grows, then the person starts to at least that tendency attenuates, and the so-called the nivrutti, that tendency or nivrutti in technically means giving away or revolving away from the center who myself or the person itself, that tendency attenuates, that self-centered tendency, and this tendency of nivrutti is the, Swamiji says, is the fundamental basis of all morality and all religion, and the very perfection of it is entire self-abnegation, readiness to help others even at the cost of one's own sacrifice. So that is the one. Now, so this coming back to the other main idea, Swamiji says next that when a work cannot be bereft of the evil effects, so knowing this, how can we work? So Swamiji says the idea is, the solution is found in the Gita, that is, and that solution is the idea of non-attachment. To work you have the fruits, not to the you work to work you have the right, not to the fruits thereof. We see karmanye vadikaraste na phaleshu kadashana. No, that shloka. So Swamiji says that is the solution to the this this problem of the perfection through work, or this idea of work and what is the goal, what is the end, where do we end, where do we reach through work. So that Swamiji says the solution is given in the Gita and elaborated, that is work, but without the idea of attachment, without the idea of gain, etc. So that is the theory of non-attachment, to be attached to nothing while doing our work of life. But I mean, so here it could be easily misunderstood. The idea stressed is do it as a duty. We will have so many works in the life. It may be one's own work, it may be work of the household, it may be one's job in the office or organization, it may be social duties, or it may be even at the last as a citizen of the country, a national duty, as a citizen's duty. So do it as a duty, but without some selfish expectation. So that is the idea. Simply speak, that is the essence of that idea. Now, so Swamiji takes this forward, and we see Swamiji says to work properly, therefore we have to first give up the idea of attachment, idea of this self-centered aggrandizement. So secondly, do not mix in the fray, but hold yourself as a witness and go on working. So this is the idea of that Sri Ramakrishna's popular idea given in the Kathamrita, that like a nurse who takes care of the children, probably nursing and then doing everything, but in the heart the nurse knows that the child is not its own, it belongs to the master. Here the idea is Sri Ramakrishna gives the idea, the household is the God's. So you as if entrusted to you, you carry on, take care of them, give all the love, etc. But do not have that possessing attitude, do not have that attachment. So that idea of the nurse. So that is simply put, the idea of witness, the Sakshi Bhava of the Vedanta is explained using this idea. Now we continue the text. So it is a weakness to think that anyone is dependent on me and that I can do good to another. This belief is the mother of all our attachment, and through this attachment comes all our pain. We must inform our minds that no one in this universe depends on us. Not one beggar depends on our charity, and not one soul on our kindness, not one living thing on our help. So here Swamiji is actually talking about this idea when usually people take to this charitable work, etc. They at some point they might have felt the need to do good work, etc. But now you see that starting point is they saw some people probably in misery, some people in need, etc. And there is some need in the society. Maybe let us say, for example, some handicapped children, or maybe there are poor people, there are socially backward people where there is no education, spread of education, where there are nowadays number of other things, even the animal activism, animal welfare, etc. So the starting point is fine, but now this idea, it doesn't go out, or to put it in another way, the starting idea is there is some need, help required, or intervention required, but so somebody pitches in and they go on working. But you see now what is the end? Elsewhere in the previous chapter, we saw one of the previous chapter that if in doing good the world is not helped, the person, the doer, is helped thereby. Why? Because the world will not change ultimately speaking, not in the near run, but of course there are people, there are living beings who need help, who need assistance, but that doesn't mean that in the long run the world will become good and all the so-called defect or the evil or whatever, all these things will go away and it will be a paradise. No, that will not be the case. That's what the teaching is. And so this idea we saw in the whole chapter Swamiji talking about. Now, so this, if the doer of good or the karma yogi, it hold on to the same idea, then it will not lead to further good or further progress of the person. That is why this so this idea is given here, or this teaching is given. This is this is the understanding we should have in helping others. So we should not keep this attachment. We should understand further and inner, deeper process of life, that the world doesn't need the person who is doing help, because even without him somebody else will pitch us in. Now the Swamiji connects this to the karma yoga here beautifully. You see, when somebody gets anything, so what do we say? The karma brought it for him or her, right? That person deserved it, and so the thing was given to him. Who gave, how it came, etc., is a secondary thing as far as the beneficiary is concerned. So you see, we will come to that point. So when that being the case, now the giver need not be proud of the giving or helping, etc., because the other person, the receiver, the benefactor, deserved it by his own karma or her own karma, and the giver or the doer of good need not be proud of. If not for him, somebody else will do that thing, that benefaction. So that being the case, what is the point of being proud or being indispensable, right? So this this is the underlying idea or the reason why this is so, that karma theory is there. Now Swamiji explains that thing further. You see, all are helped on by nature. Here nature means actually the divine dispensation, and will be so helped on even though millions of us were not here. The course of nature will not stop for such as you and me. It is, as already pointed out, only a blessed privilege to you and to me that we are allowed in the way of helping others to educate ourselves. So this point also we saw in one of the previous chapters, that is, in doing good we actually do good to ourselves. How is that? So basically, to evolve in life, to grow in life, one has to go through the experience, learn the lessons of life, learn good, bad, and then understand things. So that also all this requires the field of work and various all these things. So in that perspective, Swamiji says it is a privilege that we are allowed to help, allowed to work, and so that through that medium educate ourselves. Elsewhere Swamiji has said, it is the world experience alone which teaches us, and so that experience requires the field of work, all these things, right? So this is the great lesson to learn in life, and when we have learned it fully, we shall never be unhappy. We can go and mix without harm in society, anywhere and everywhere. You may have wives and husbands, regiments and servants, kingdoms to govern. If only you act on the principle that the world is not for you and does not inevitably need you, then they can do you no harm. Here, so this idea came in the earlier part of this chapter, that is, some traditions or cultures, they teach that the world is for you to enjoy. In some way or the other, probably some of the Semitic cultures, they have in this probably a somewhat old idea that in some of the prayers they teach children that thank God that God has given us food, God has given us this and good things in life, all these things. It may be okay as a relative idea, but if we take it to, if we see deeply into this, it is not so much true. What is the implication? That this world is for us to enjoy. That's right. So that is not true. That's why, so this was elaborated earlier in the chapter. So here Swamiji is just referring to that the world is not for our, say, enjoyment or for our sake. It is, if that is the case, then we are also as much for the world. So that will be the implication. So then it is there. The world is a gymnasium where we come to become perfect. That is the explanation or the definition, you can say, the Swamiji has given. That is a perfect thing. So we will come to that point actually, that what is the place of world in a person's life, right? So you say, when we have this, learned this grace lesson, then when we have learned it fully, we shall never be unhappy. Why? So there is no this unattachment, there is no this attachment, and then people know how to work, etc. And then so the what to expect in life, why person has to work, all this the person understands. So then there is no much reason for disappointment or sorrow. So that is the idea. So continuing, this very year some of your friends may have died. Is the world waiting without going on for them to come again? Is its current stopped? No, it goes on. So drive out of your mind the idea that you have to do something for the world. The world doesn't require any help from you. It is sheer nonsense on the part of any man to think that he is born to help the world. It is simply pride. It is selfishness insinuating itself in the form of virtue. So this is actually from an absolute standpoint. This doesn't mean that one should not actually, the whole one of the central idea of karma yoga is, of course, one has to engage. First of all, understand how to what the so-called work is, the whole philosophy of work is, and undertake not self-centered works, at least the charitable works, etc. But that is in the later stage, but in the beginning, so one has to understand what is the attitude behind work, and so many things we do in life. What should be our understanding, attitude behind, what is their role in our life, in one's life. So all these things have to be understood first. And next, so person has to understand, if one has to grow towards perfection, towards truth, one has to see that there are no self-centered calculations or tendencies in one's life. To the extent, of course, bodily maintenance for the life, etc., there would be things to be done which are for oneself or for one's family, but that to be taken as a duty, not in the other sense, probably as an enjoyment or in other way. Usually without knowing, some way we take up work and some way it goes on. But now through education, through understanding, it has to be undertaken. And so what is that attitude? Take it as a duty, right? So now we have understanding. So that will not cause evil or does not cause the wrong reactions, the bad reactions, or let's say it doesn't entangle. So that is the thing. Now, so here, so it doesn't mean that, so here Swamiji said, the world is not waiting for you. You see, same thing. I just, we had this idea from the Karma Yoga, when somebody is being benefited by somebody else, the benefactor deserved it. So if not one, somebody else will bring it. So that's how the person doing good is not indispensable. That's how somebody else will do. So we should not think that without, or the world doesn't go on. This is the false idea. It should be thrown away, and it could lead into many other problems. And it is actually a huge delusion. So we'll see this idea some more elaborated here. When you have trained your mind and your nerves to realize this idea of the world's non-dependence on you or on anybody, There will then be no reaction in the form of pain resulting from work. When you have when you give something to a man and expect nothing, do not even expect the man to be grateful. His ingratitude will not tell upon you, because you never expected anything, never thought you had any right to anything in the way of return. So same thing. When you have trained your mind, so that means repeatedly one has to remind these things, these teachings, these ideas, these truths of the karma theory and all the karma yoga, etc., all these things. And then we have to repeatedly, at every turn, we have to train ourselves, remind ourselves, and then gradually train our consciousness, so that we all our actions are performed with right attitude. Then this then automatically there won't be these wrong ideas, wrong intentions, and leading into, somewhere something we would have done, let's say some expectation would be there. It's unconsciously it is there, because for so many lives, so many years, that is how the current of life has been carried on. Now suddenly it cannot be reversed in a day or reversed in a year. So it has to be trained gradually. That's why Swamiji said we have to train the mind and the nerves to realize this idea of the world doesn't depend on, world's non-dependence on you or anybody. There will then be no reaction in the form of pain resulting from work. So not even when somebody is even not ungrateful, even then it should not tell upon us, because even that shouldn't be expected. We shouldn't even expect somebody to say thank you. So it should, that is the subtlest and then the farthest limit to which it should be taken to. That's the that idea of non-expectation should be taken to that ultimate extent. That is the idea here. So you gave him what he deserved. His own karma got it for him. Your karma made you the carrier thereof. Why should you be proud of having given away something? You are the porter that carried the money or some other kind of gift, and the world deserved it by its own karma. Where is then the reason for pride in you? There is nothing very great in what you give to the world. So this is what I just mentioned previously, that the idea of karma, or somebody, we have done something and then the phala we get the result, right? So now if somebody is getting something, maybe as let us say somebody gets it from government, let us say, probably he deserves it, probably nahi. So as per the karma, this thing, he deserves it, he or she. Maybe it is the punya karma, something he has done in the previous life, or it may be some other reason, the cosmic life has given it to him, only somebody is carrying it. So for that the benefactor need not be proud of, right? So when you have acquired the feeling of non-attachment, there will then be neither good nor evil for you. It is only selfishness that causes the difference between good and evil. So this is some important statement to note. So usually we have this good and evil. I mean, what is good and evil? So it could be in the form of somebody doing something, we seeing something, somebody is doing in a selfish way or cruel way, or somebody doing something wrong out of wrong idea, out of wrong intention, or anything, any reason could be there. So we see these things which doesn't conducive to the general good, so that are generally regarded as evil. Now, so this what actually differentiates it, at what causes it? Swamiji says it is the selfishness that causes the difference between good and evil. So it's a general statement. Now how do we, this could be seen in the context of somebody. Now I am there, I am seeing something good or evil with respect to myself, or with respect to somebody who is related to me, let us say in some way, or it may be some in the society, which is general thing, right? So both could be observed, and so it will take a larger explanation. We will not go into that. So we'll continue. It is a very hard thing to understand, but you will come to learn in time that nothing in the universe has power over you until you allow it to exercise such a power. Nothing has power over the self of man until the self becomes a fool and loses independence. Here, another idea, this is important idea, that is, unless we allow, nothing in the universe has power to affect us. This is a Vedantic idea, very deeper Vedantic idea it is. See, so Swamiji says it is a very hard thing to understand, but you will come to learn in time. I mean, through a lot of practice, and then once the mind is purified, and then all these teachings, spiritual teachings are practiced, then we come to understand nothing in the universe has power over you until you allow it to exercise such a power. Nothing has power over the self. Here the self meaning the Atman of man. Until the Atman becomes a fool. So this, so Swamiji uses a word fool. Here, basically when the avidya is covered, so then the original, the divine nature of oneself is forgotten. Then then the start all this avidya, kama, karma. In the Advaita Vedanta it is said, to put in the ordinary language, so then this complete nature, the completeness of the self is forgotten. So it seeks the complement in the external world. So it's basically, is complete Atman trying to seek completeness outside. That is a kind of a foolishness, is it not? So basically, why it came about? So now to go to the root, there may be philosophical things there. To simply put, because of the ignorance or the avidya covered, and then so the original nature, the knowledge of original knowledge will be lost. Then what happens? So it seeks, then multiplicity is seen, incompleteness is felt apparently, and then so many things will start from there. From their desires, on desire after desire, kama and karma. So it goes on, kama being the desire and the fundamental thing. So now from there Swamiji is connecting it to our present karma yoga context. That is, so because self has allowed it, the avidya, to come on itself. Now, so again, that is a very fundamental question. Now from there it is being connected to the current context of karma. That is, it is so nothing has the power to affect us until the person allows it. Now, so elsewhere Swamiji has elaborated in this very point. So we'll just keep it to that much now and carry on. So now you see, by non-attachment, you overcome and deny the power of anything to act upon you. It is very easy. It is very easy to say that nothing has the right to act upon you until you allow it to do so. But what is the true sign of the man who really doesn't allow anything to work upon him, who is neither happy nor unhappy when acted upon by the external world? The sign is that good or ill fortune causes no change in his mind. In all conditions, he continues to remain the same. Now, here you see 2-3 things are there, and afterwards a beautiful story Swamiji gives here to illustrate this. By non-attachment, you overcome and deny the power of anything to act upon you. It is now, so by non-attachment, Swamiji says, and elsewhere this idea had come, that is, when we have the desires, usually let us take an ordinary case. Somebody has desires. What does it mean? The person wants that, person wants this, so many things will be there. Just an ordinary case. Then that is actually, it is dependence. Now the very desire meant dependence on somebody. What does that mean again? Either for happiness or for fulfilling some want. In one way or the other, it dependent on something else outside. So to acquire that, then only the person will be relieved from that, or free from that, or will be happy. So, or complete that thing. So now that very desire or want made him incomplete and dependent on the outside. So dependence has come. So in some way or the other, the slavery, the original freedom of the person is lost in slavery or in subjection to the external thing. Whichever it could be, it may be a somebody person or some organization, or it may be, let us say, anything it could be, to get the thing outside, right? So now, if that is not the case, non-attachment means the likes and dislikes are not there. It's a technical term, right? Likes and dislikes are not there. Likes meaning the desires again. Now, so non-attachment means when the person is free from desire, Then when that is the case, then what the person is dependent on? Nothing. He is independent, more or less. I mean, generally speaking, let us take a general case. So, to that extent, the person is free from the external thing, is it not? So, whether somebody does this way or that way, etc., he is not bothered, right? Take it to, I mean, so when the person evolves spiritually, he will come to understand so many things of the external, the Jagat, the external world doesn't really are relevant to the person. When a person evolved spiritually greatly, then understand. It doesn't mean that the person is careless about or not bothered about or ignore or kind of very unsympathetic, unconcerned about the external thing. No, there will be, it is not true. When it is required, then they will act. It is not that they did not, because we have seen spiritually enlightened persons, we have seen in earlier Swamiji referred, there are kings, there were even I had given we need not go very that far. There are people who have perfectly carried on the teachings of Karma Yoga and still they have been kings, they have been generals, all these things. And it is not that we don't see such examples even now. How they carried on? Just out of doing good to the people and out of sense of duty, that's all. Without any expectation, without any self-centered idea or tendency, attitude behind. So now, this being the case, now, so when to that extent where they are desireless or non-attached, to that extent they are free because they are not dependent on anything. They act out of their own free will. That is the thing, right? Now, continuing, it is very easy to say that nothing has the right to act upon you until you allow it to do so. Until you allow it to do so, meaning when you have a person, we out of fancy, you take on so many desires. We want that, we want this, go on without thinking, without seeing deeply whether something has any relevance, whether some people simply take on, go on telling or doing, getting into unnecessary, unrelated works and concerns, etc. That is easy to understand. It was not necessarily given, it was not necessary. Still they take on and get into all sorts of things. No, so that is how the person is allowing oneself to be drawn into many things and thus become affected by those things. So, now, continuing, the sign is that good or ill fortune causes no change in his mind. In all conditions, he continues to be the same. Now, to illustrate this ideal fully practiced and reached, fully practiced and attained the perfection in this, Swamiji gives one example. That is the in the Puranas we have this thing, the story of Shukadeva, son of Veda Vyasa or Krishna Dvaipana Vyasa. We have this story in both Bhagavatam a little bit, in Mahabharata also we have somewhat related this story. Now I read out the story and here and there I just give my remarks. It is straightforward. Now, there was a great sage in India called Vyasa. This Vyasa is known as the author of the Vedanta aphorisms, Brahma Sutras, and was a holy man. His father had tried to become a very perfect man and had failed. His great father had also tried and failed. His great grandfather had also similarly tried and failed. Now, his father, Vyasa's father is Parashara. And his father or the Vyasa's grandfather is Shakti. And Vyasa's great grandfather is Vasishta. There is in the Vishnu Sahasranama, in the beginning itself, there is one salutation mantra. That is Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakte Pautramakalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Taponidim. So here the salutation is to Vyasadeva, who is the son of Parashara, grandson of Shakti and great grandson of Vasishta. Like that the sloka is. And of course we know the Vyasadeva is revered as the Guru, the general Guru in the Hindu Sampradaya, and Guru Purnima is actually observed in his honor, in his name, that is the birth Janma Tithi of Vyasadeva, and general Guru is honored on his birth. Vyasadeva, otherwise a great person, though Swamiji says here he himself fully did not become perfect, though that is said from one perspective. He himself did not succeed perfectly, but his son Shuka was born perfect. Swamiji says, he mane here Vasudeva. Swamiji refers, Vasudeva did not fully succeed. That from one perspective Swamiji says, but his son Shukadeva was born perfect. Shukadeva is the person who actually tells the story of the whole Bhagavatam is told by Shukadeva to the king Parikshit, and that has been heard by the other rishis, and they relate elsewhere. That is the thing, and all these many of the Krishna stories, etc., and many other teachings which are given in the Bhagavata are actually related by Shukadeva. Now we continue with the story. Vyasa taught his son Shukadeva wisdom, and after teaching him the knowledge of truth himself, he sent him to the court of King Janaka, Videha. He was a great king and was called Janaka Videha. Videha means without a body. Although a king, King Janaka, had entirely forgotten that he was a body. He felt that he was a spirit all the time. This boy, Shuka, was sent to be taught by him. The king knew that Vyasa's son was coming to him to learn wisdom, so he made certain arrangements beforehand. King Janaka, Videha, Raja, he had become perfect. He had attained Brahmagnana, and though he was, just now I was referring, fully, somebody who has fully realized still is ruling the kingdom. So it's possible, not that, and Karma Yoga and these teachings of selfless work, all these things are not possible in the society. No, that is not true. There are many people, even current society, there are who are able to practice these teachings. Now, continuing this story. So, Vyasa, when he sent the son Shuka, the son Shuka was a mere boy that time. When the boy presented himself at the gates of the palace, the gods took no notice of him whatsoever. They only gave him a seat, and he sat there for 3 days and nights. Nobody speaking to him, nobody asking him who he was or whence he was. He was the son of a very great sage. His father was a honored person by the whole country, and he himself was a most respectable person. Yet the low, vulgar gods of the palace would take no notice of him. After that, suddenly the ministers of the king and all the big officials came there and received him with the greatest honors. They conducted him in and showed him into splendid rooms, gave him the most fragrant baths and wonderful dresses, and for 8 days they kept him there in all kinds of luxury. That solemnly serene face of Shuka did not change even to the smallest extent by the change in the treatment accorded to him. He was the same in the midst of this luxury as when waiting at the door. You see? For many days he was just made to wait near the gate. He was not allowed into the palace. They simply said, you wait here. That is the order given by the king. So he just waited. And then he was taken. All the big officials came, including the minister. They took him and then introduced, they showed him, just like the Atithya is given to any VIP. So they took him in the palace, showed him various things, and then led him to some room and then asked him, stay here and take some rest, and then we will see. And then 8 days passed in that luxury also. Now, you see the thing, when made to wait for days together, so we see his qualities, patience, humility, and what he has come for, he is just waiting for that. He has come for truth, to seek knowledge and wisdom, and that is the only goal he has got. And he is not bothered whether he is shown honor or not, whether he is treated properly or not. Nothing has affected him. You see, this is the thing we have to see in this story. And then taken him to the inner palace, and then put in the highest luxury, and great highest treatment is given, like befitting a VIP, a big official, a royal official. So that treatment is given. Even then, he is the same person. Now he is not elated or at least relieved, not even that much. That Yes, they have been, at least now they have realized what my worth is. So, nothing of that sort. He needed something of the wisdom he is seeking. He has just come there and then waiting. So, this is the thing we to see here, right? Continuing. When he was brought before the king, finally, the king was on his throne. Music was playing and dancing and other amusements were going on in the court. The king then gave him a cup of milk, full to the brim, and asked him to go 7 times round the hall without spilling even a drop. The boy took the cup and proceeded in the midst of the music and the attraction of the beautiful faces. As desired by the king, 7 times did he go round, and not a drop of the milk was spilled. The boy's mind couldn't be attracted by anything in the world unless he allowed it to affect him. And when he brought the cup to the king said to him, "What your father has taught you and what you have learned yourself, I can only repeat. You have known the truth. Go home." See, the boy's mind couldn't be attracted by anything in the world. Whatever is, so many dance was going on, so many people, there are troops playing there, some girls playing there, music playing, all the dance, some girls were playing there. See, they said here, attraction of the beautiful faces. Now, so nothing, not even one glance outside, he could spill the milk. So, not even that much, right? So, he just focus. He has something, one quest is there, he is just bothered about. Whatever goes on, he is not bothered. See, earlier I was mentioning, there could be so many things going on in the world. Not everything is concerned with us. There will be few things depending on the person and person's work or the times. Only few things concern the person, and if when the person is properly educated in these things, then he knows where one's concern ends, where one is concerned, where one's duty starts and ends. So just to, in this connection, just there is one very practical teaching of Holy Mother Sharada Devi. Mother said, see, in her own homely language, Mother had said, see, when you go to do a work, make it a point to return as soon as the work is finished. That means, just as to the work you have gone, accomplish that and then just come back or just return. Do not concern about unnecessary things. Mother said, and then continues. Mother continues, in order to digging for earthworms, you end up digging deeper and then bring out snakes. Mane, overdo a thing or get into unnecessary concerns and bring trouble to oneself and to many other people. That is the teaching there. You see, right? See, there now people, it is almost so common in almost everyone's life. Unless they understand and thought about it and tried again and again to correct oneself, what one's duty is, where it starts, where it ends, when somebody is concerned, when it is not somebody's concern. You see, this person, so many things are going on. Probably first time he is a mere boy. As we know, when he taught Bhagavatam, he was a mere boy of probably some 10 years or 12 years. That's what the scripture says, Bhagavatam. Now, this has happened, this episode has happened before that. Probably must be 1 or 2 years before that. A mere boy of 8 or 10 has gone to the king, royal palace. So many things, probably first time in his life he is seeing even the palace, let alone inside of the palace. Now, at least some curiosity, not even curiosity. The person is not even curious about just to see what is going on. No, he has come for truth. He is just stuck. And then the Guru told him to do this, and then he is just following that. And then the father had told him, go to the king, Janaka, and then learn truth. To our further instruction. He has come, just waiting. 3 days he waited, and another 8 days or 5 days inside the palace. None of that. Nothing could unsettle the mind of the person. Just he has come for, in the quest of truth he has come. Similar Shraddha or one-pointed devotion we see in the Kathopanishad. Nachiketa. He has gone there. None of the temptation, everything, practically everything which can be of temptation to a human being was offered to him by the very the king of death, who was though he is a king of death, being a deva, he had the authority to give whatever the mortal wanted, but nothing. You just look at this. So that is the nishta, or the one-pointed devotion to one's quest for truth. He wanted some questions, answers to some of the existential problems or the questions of life, which he stuck to. And in spite of repeated temptations or offers by the king, by the Deva, Yamaraja, Nachiketa did not budge. He just stuck to it. So that comes out of purity, out of much training and practice will come. Actually, this idea of practice, Swamiji stresses here. Next, in this next paragraph, it will come. This we have to practice, and then learn. We have to educate ourselves. This is where the significance of knowledge, jnana, comes in, right? Unless we know, we just go on doing anything in any way. We just now, you see, many people, most of the time we don't understand where our duty starts, where it ends. And so what will be the thing? Unnecessarily getting into some concern or something which is not of concern, and probably trampling on somebody else's domain, and then getting inside, bringing out all sorts of problems. Is it not? So, see, these are the great things to learn. So, now, so this is the story illustrating unless you allow it, nothing in the world can affect you. Nothing in the universe has power to affect you unless we allow it. And how it is? So now Swamiji brought out a illuminating story to demonstrate. Make the point clear, right? So this is the thing. So at the root of what it is, the person understands what he wants and what he doesn't want also. That also to be understood. And so that purity, that single pointedness, that dedication, and other things we saw, the patience, the humility, all these things also matter. You can see he is the son of one of the great sages, himself a born Siddha, and he can simply pick at least, see, I am at least Vyasa's son, they have treated me, and one thought is sufficient. So you will put you points away from there, and the Guru will probably, Guru will put you to the teaching again, the training, right? So this is the test of the person who has reached perfection. That is the thing. And what are the other characteristics, what trainings, what perfections he has attained? I just gave some of them. See how morally, how much perfect he is, the patience, humility, the quest for truth, the single-pointed devotion to what he is seeking, and and his purity, all these things, right? So now, continuing the chapter, thus, the man that has practiced control over himself cannot be acted upon by anything outside. There is no more slavery for him. His mind has become free. Such a man alone is fit to live well in the world. So, Swamiji says, such a man alone is fit to live well in the world. Well, meaning usually people live, right? So, live well, truly speaking. At least independently. Person is independent. To that extent, he should be able to. Otherwise, we think something, we will not be able to carry on. Sometimes we think something, end up doing something else. Many things goes on in this way. We expect something else happens. And many times we don't even understand that what was intended and what finally happened. There is no connection at all, right? So these are quite easy to understand. Those who are at least started to do a little bit of dhyana, introspection, and understand. And so, you see, at the center of all these things is, again I want to repeat, the knowledge, the understanding. First thing is, so again Swamiji starts saying that thing, first hear, then think about it, then sit down to practice. Right? This knowledge, this understanding is the pivotal, the first fundamental thing. We have to get that thing. So we generally find men holding two opinions regarding the world. Some are pessimists and say how horrible this world is, how wicked. Some others are optimists and say how beautiful this world is, how wonderful. To those who have not controlled their own minds, the world is either full of evil or at the best a mixture of good and evil. So this is a common understanding. Generally speaking, people are optimistic, somewhat at least, unless the person is grown mature and then sees one way or the other. In the earlier one chapter, Swamiji has had remarked, just I want to relate here, both pessimist and optimist, generally speaking, are wrong because they have not caught the truth. The truth is elsewhere. Truth of what? Truth of life and truth of how the world goes on. That is else. That is something else. But either this is the two opinions, two ideas they hold. They see either world is world is full of good and then wonderful, all these things. Probably the person is still young, full of enthusiasm, creative ideas, these, that he wants to try out. They are yet to get some experience and understand life in experience. And the other person probably failed repeatedly, he or she, many times, and then probably at that time they went through only failures and then defeats and all the negative side of life, and they hold a pessimistic view of life. But Swami said both are missed the truth, they missed the point, both are wrong. This was said earlier. Oh, here two types of people there could be. Now, this very world will become to us an optimistic world when we become masters of our own minds. Nothing will then work upon us as good or evil. We shall find everything to be in its proper place, to be harmonious. Now, there could be these two people, but this world will become to us an optimistic world when we become masters of our own minds. Optimistic in the sense, in a higher sense, Swamiji says here, when we have our own minds, we do not allow, explained earlier, we are not dependent on things except outside, not having raga dvesha, likes, dislikes. Then then the judgment will be based on our likes and dislikes, whether we get or not, whether we succeed or fail. So then it will be subject to that. But the truth is elsewhere. Now it becomes a subjective calculation. The what we look at outside, what we see outside, it will become a subjective thing. Unless the person is pure, unless the person has given up all this, or rather, let me say, transcended these usual, general likes and dislikes, these calculations, unless the person has raised himself or herself above these things, it will be still subject to all these things. Now, and once the person has risen oneself above these calculations, general worldly calculations, then the person is non-attached. Then he will be able to say to that much extent truly what the world is. Then it will become optimistic. At least this is from a higher standpoint. Swamiji says optimistic what it is, right? Nothing will then work upon us as good or evil. We shall find everything to be in its proper place, to be harmonious. Now, though Swamiji used these two words, to be, the world will be seen in its proper place, to be harmonious. Elsewhere, a more direct statement about this, Swamiji has given a beautiful thing, and else probably that could be related or connected many of our many times in our life. That is, world is a great gymnasium. We come to become perfect in it through experience. So this is the statement. World is a great gymnasium and we come to become perfect. World is, now this excludes so many other views or definitions or whatever viewpoints about the world. World is something you come here to achieve, come here to acquire, come here to enjoy. So many attitudes could be there. None of these. World is a great gymnasium where we come to become perfect through experience. Right? Now, this is the most technical, most fitting Vedantic idea. Now, so when the person has raised above these things, then you will be able to perfectly understand what the world is. Right? So this is so Swamiji said here, everything to be in its proper place, to be harmonious. There is both the value for the value for both the so-called the evil or the good. Both of them have something to teach us. Swamiji elsewhere says, the blows which we get in life, they are more better teachers, probably more significant teachers than the good. Or Swamiji's words are slightly different. Swamiji says, the blows teaches more than the good or the pleasant experiences in life, right? So both have something to mold us or teach us in life. So they have their own place, right? And we have innumerable stories also in the Kathamrita also. So Sri Ramakrishna illustrates many of the stories to explain this point, that is both good and evil has their own place, significance in the world, to educate people, to make them strong, morally perfect, right? So that is the thing. So that is what Swamiji intends to say here, or means when he says, then we shall find that everything to be in its proper place, to be harmonious. Continuing, some men who begin by saying that the world is a hell often end by saying that it is a heaven when they succeed in practice of self-control. If we are genuine karma yogis and wish to train ourselves to attainment of this state, wherever we may begin, we are sure to end in perfect self-abnegation, that is self-denial. And as soon as this seeming self being that ego-centered tendency, as soon as this seeming self has gone, the whole world, which at first appeared to us to be filled with evil, will appear to be heaven itself and full of blessedness. Its very atmosphere will be blessed. Every human face there will be God. Such is the end and aim of Karma Yoga, and such is its perfection in practical life. So, this is what a person who has reached perfection, or at least advanced a great deal, this is how they will sense, experience, or at least see the world in its way. When the person has very few wants. In the Mahabharata, there is one beautiful statement, that is, Yudhishthira and all Pandavas, they are in the forest. After the Advaita Sabha, they are in the forest and then they are living there. So that time, there is so many rishis used to come, or they used to go and meet, the Pandavas used to meet so many rishis in the forest, ashramas, vanashramas, and they used to receive instruction and hear about them, expound the dharma and truth. So in one place, the one rishi is telling the Dharmaraja that for a person who truly is self-controlled, or who is truly purified, has only a few wants in life. Right? A person who is, it is the same person. It doesn't say he is a recluse. It said a general person. It is actually, the instruction is given to the king. Okay, Yudhishthira was a king, of course, so he was banished to the forest after they lost in the Advaita Sabha, in the dice play. See, the instruction is being told to the kings and the generals, all the Pandava brothers. A person who is truly self-controlled, his wants are very few. Right? You see, that is the thing. Many things are there, fanciful expectations, likes, all these things, wants, so many things will be there, but many of them are not needs, they are mere wants, right? Now here, continuing, so when the person has at least advanced so much, so you will see the very atmosphere changed, blessed, every human face will look like a God. Such is the end and aim of Karma Yoga, and such is its perfection in practical life. Continuing, so our various yogas do not conflict each other. Each of them leads us to the same goal and makes us perfect. Only each has to be strenuously practiced. The whole secret is in practicing. First you have to hear, then think, and then practice. This is true of every yoga. You have first to hear about it and then understand what it is. And many things which you do not understand will be made clear to you by constant hearing and thinking. It is hard to understand everything at once. Right? So here, this hear, think, and practice, it's a reflection of the teaching, one of the mantra in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha. Sage Yajnavalkya is teaching to his wife Maitreyi, and at one stage, the rishi is telling, Shrotavyaha, first you have to hear, then Mantavyaha, think about it, cogitate on it, then Nididhyasitavyaha, there it is a upasana, or the meditation on it, and here in the Karma Yoga context it is practice, right? So first hear, then think and understand it, then practice. So earlier I mentioned, unless we practice many things, we will not be clear to us. So this is the thing. So a little more is there in this chapter. We will see in the next class. So we end here. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat.